Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. Grant Ellis has revealed which part of the Bachelor process he found really hard. The 31-year-old season of the dating show has just premiered with elite changes and questionable night one eliminations. At first, fans believed they already knew who would be in Grant's final four, but as the 2-hour premiere went on, the leading man's intentions became unclear as he kissed tons of girls. During an appearance on Good Morning America, Ellis shared why he was so enticed by the women on day one. The day trader said everybody was unique. He shared all of the women did something that really showed their personality. As the process went on, Ellis continued to find every one of them amazing and brought so much to the table. He also revealed that he didn't hold back from connecting with the girls. "It's really important that you wear your heart on your sleeve, and I feel I did just that," Ellis said. The reality star isn't regretful of his decisions on the show because the women came with genuine intentions. "I think the thing that really brought us all together was what they were here for, and that was love. Everybody was willing to be open." While Ellis was grateful for the women's vulnerability, it made the process harder for him. While sitting down with people, he spoke about the pre-recorded season and how he handled the drama that always transpires. Ellis admitted he would always remind himself to get the facts and don't jump the gun. He said, "In a situation like that, where any move you make is really pivotal, I think that me waiting until I had all the evidence and then making a decision was the best move on the chessboard." The reality star said the issues that arose taught him a lot about himself, but also the women after his heart. He realized that their maturity showed how much they wanted a family and long-lasting relationship. "It's really easy for somebody to tell you what they want, but I think that actions speak louder than words," he declared. He explained that if they're starting drama, or if they're gossiping, or if they're doing certain things, that just indicates a lack of maturity. "For me, a red flag is somebody who's too self-absorbed," he added. "It's really hard when you have to let somebody down in a way, and that's kind of something that hurt a little," Ellis admitted. The television personality made sure to go about the rose ceremony in the best way he could. He shared, "You can do it with grace, and you can do it in a way where you're thinking about the woman's feelings and also thinking about yourself." Since he went about the process with thoroughness, Ellis was very happy with the end result. The reality star added, "I'm happy with the decisions I made, and I don't regret anything." Grant Ellis had signed up for The Bachelor with a cocktail of curiosity and courage. An ambitious real estate developer with a guarded heart, he never imagined trading spreadsheets for sparkly dates and heart-to-hearts under camera lights. But when the network came knocking, armed with promises of finding the one and redefining love on prime time, he bit. What he hadn't braced for, however, was the invisible cost, the subtle corrosion of vulnerability under the microscope of millions. In the first few episodes, he came off as the dream guy, charming, eloquent, and chiseled like he was carved from a rom-com fantasy. America swooned and contestants gushed. But beneath the surface, Grant was already beginning to suffocate under the expectations that came with playing the role of America's Bachelor. Falling for the fantasy. It wasn't fake, his feelings. Grant made that clear in a podcast months later. "People assume we're acting, but you're in this bubble, and feelings get real fast," he said, voice heavier than usual. "There were moments when I really thought I was falling in love, multiple times." One of those moments was with Latia Gar. Her energy grounded him. She laughed when others cried, questioned when others followed, and offered no pretense. Latia had been a dark horse in the early weeks, someone production didn't pay much attention to, until Grant started pulling her aside more than once a night. But the show had its own agenda. "Sometimes you feel like a chess piece," Grant confessed during the After the Final Rose special. "You're falling for someone and you know she's not getting airtime. You say, 'Hey, this is the real thing.' But it's almost like If it doesn't fit the narrative, it's not real enough for them. He tried to protect Latia, but the editing didn't. She was painted as not ready, too intense, and low tier. It crushed her, and that crushed him. The turning point. The night Grant sent Latia home, he barely made it through the rose ceremony. He recalled standing behind the table, roses in hand, and seeing her face flash with confusion, not anger, just heartbreak laced with disbelief. She whispered, "Really?" And that moment haunted me for weeks, Grant revealed on the Vile files, because I knew she thought I'd choose her, and she wasn't wrong. Behind the scenes, producers had pushed him. "She's not America's favorite," they had warned. "Do you want to end up with someone who won't survive outside the bubble?" The pressure didn't come like a shove, it came like gravity, slowly, inevitably pulling him toward safer, more polished choices, toward women who had influencer deals waiting, toward Juliana Pasquarosa. The Juliana dilemma. Juliana was dazzling. With her fashion label and 1.4 million followers, she knew how to work a moment. Grant did like her, genuinely. Their chemistry was undeniable. But where Latia made him feel known, Juliana made him feel marketable. She was the right choice for the show, Grant would later admit, but maybe not the right choice for me. Still, under the studio lights and public pressure, he bent. The finale was filmed on a mountaintop in Mexico. He proposed, Juliana said yes. Fireworks exploded, the crowd roared, but Grant's smile never quite reached his eyes. And in that exact moment, Grant said later, he felt a quiet crack inside himself. The hurt revealed. It took a full year and countless therapy sessions for Grant to unpack the thing he called the hurt the most. "I wasn't prepared for how much I'd lose myself," he revealed in a heart-wrenching YouTube video that trended for days. Everyone talks about fame and criticism, but no one talks about how you get rewarded for pretending. He paused, eyes glistening. "Every time I ignored my instincts, they called it growth. Every time I played along, they called it maturity. But it wasn't growth. It was fear. I stopped listening to my gut because my gut didn't rate well with test audiences." He felt he'd betrayed not just Latia, but himself. "I hurt someone good because I let the machine tell me who I should love. And worse, I let it convince me that the version of myself who fell for her wasn't enough." He went on to explain how that emotional gaslighting led to months of numbness. The Bachelor hangover, as producers jokingly called it, wasn't funny at all. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't look at Juliana the same way. He'd wake in the middle of the night, guilt gnawing at him, not just for Latia, but for the audience who never saw the real Grant. The aftermath. The split with Juliana came 3 months after the finale aired. Officially, they blamed scheduling differences, but unofficially, "She wanted the spotlight," Grant said in an interview with People, "and I wanted silence." Juliana returned to New York and launched a spring campaign titled Unapologetic. Grant moved to Montana, deleted Instagram for a while, and took up landscape photography. It was in the quiet hills of Bozeman that he finally began journaling again, something Latia had encouraged. "Don't let them take your words," she once told him. "They're your way back to yourself." He wrote about the silence that followed the show, the fans who turned on him, the contestants who unfollowed, the DMs that accused him of being fake or worse, cowardly. But he also wrote about healing. "I realized that it wasn't love I doubted, it was myself." The public reckoning. Grant's video, titled "What They Didn't Show You," went viral, not because of scandal, but because of honesty. He didn't slam production, he didn't villainize Juliana, he simply peeled back the curtain with unfiltered emotion. And then something unexpected happened. Latia reached out. She wrote in a direct message, "Your words landed. They hurt a little, but they healed more." They didn't get back together romantically, but they met in Chicago, halfway between their worlds, and had coffee. They talked about everything and nothing, about roses and regrets, about quiet grief and louder lessons. She looked me in the eyes, Grant recalled, and said, "You were always enough. You just forgot." And that meant more than any final rose. A new chapter. 2 years later, Grant isn't the man America met on The Bachelor. He's quieter now. Softer in some ways, stronger in others. He started a podcast called Unscripted, where he interviews former reality contestants about what the cameras missed. His first episode? With Latia. They talked about healing, hope, and how the most hurtful part of reality TV isn't the drama, it's the loss of your own narrative. "I gave my heart to the show," Grant said in the closing minutes, "but I didn't realize they might rewrite it." He paused. The part that hurt the most was not being able to tell the truth when it mattered, but now I can, and I will. That episode became his most streamed ever. The final confession. A year after the finale aired, Grant recorded a special bonus episode for Unscripted titled The Real Hurt. It opened with no intro music, just silence. Then his voice, low and steady. "I used to think the thing that hurt the most was sending Latia home, and yeah, that hurt, a lot. But the real pain came from losing faith in myself. I started thinking my heart was something to negotiate, to compromise, to perform with. The show didn't take that from me. I gave it away, but I'm taking it back now." That episode became his most streamed ever. The visit. One spring afternoon, Grant finally visited a small art gallery in Denver. It belonged to Latia. She'd opened it quietly, showcasing work by emerging women of color artists. She didn't know he was coming. He walked in quietly, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes scanning the canvas-covered walls. There, tucked in the corner, was a piece titled The Almost. A woman standing at a cliff's edge, arms wide, wind lifting her hair. Below her, a garden bloomed where there should have been rocks. Latia appeared behind him. "You made it." Grant turned, the corners of his mouth lifting softly. "I did." They didn't need to say much. Sometimes closure doesn't come in a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through art, through presence, through unspoken forgiveness. Moving forward. Today, Grant isn't just Bachelor Grant. He's Grant Ellis, advocate, creator, and host of one of the most emotionally intelligent podcasts in the reality TV space. He occasionally posts photos of Montana, never selfies, no big romance announcement, no new engagement ring, just the soft glow of someone who stopped performing and finally started living. Fans often ask if he's still in love with Latia. "I'll always have love for her," he answers, "but the biggest love story I've lived these past 2 years was the one where I stopped needing approval to feel worthy." And that's the kind of ending even a reality show couldn't script. Grant Ellis's story isn't about scandal, it's about surrender, about learning that healing often begins when the cameras stop rolling and the roses start to wilt. Because sometimes the most courageous thing a man can do is admit what hurt him the most, and then choose to grow anyway.